WW7ATS.
Good evening. This is the Western Washington Amateur Television Society net on the 08 machine. I'm Dave, KD7CYM. The Western Washington Amateur Television Society is a group of amateur radio enthusiasts that take to the airways with fast scan television. We have a repeater located up on Cougar Mountain. We transmit on 70 centimeters. It's a crossband repeater and spits out images at 1.2 gigahertz. To find out more about the Western Washington Amateur Television Society, please Google WW7ATS. That's Google WW7ATS. That will take you to our homepage on the internet. There you'll see the exact frequencies we receive and transmit on, a little background on the club, and also they'll find a link that will take you to YouTube, where we stream our nets held Wednesdays and Saturdays between 8 and 9 o'clock. Also, we'd like to thank the SeaTac Repeater Association for letting us use WW7STR's repeater 147.08 with a specific tone of 103.5 for the specific net for audio transmissions. Again, that's a tone of 103.5. So I'll pause now in case anybody has emergency traffic or needs to make a contact on the 08 machine before our net gets fully underway. This is Dave, KD7CYM. Hearing none, again, this is the Western Washington Amateur Television Society net. I'm Dave, KD7CYM. Signed in by video link already is Ron, KD7QKU, Lee, N7KC, in and out, Richard, K7ITX, Wade, W7ITL, Jim, N7QO, James, WU7N, and myself, Dave, KD7CYM. Is there anybody else wishing to join the net this evening? And we'll start the net off with Ron, KD7QKU in Tacoma.
Okay, well, thank you very much, Dave. Good evening, everyone. KD7QKU. Well, let's see. I've been messing around with my boat a little bit. I climbed in and out, and I'm sore and tired. Not used to doing that. I can't climb in the boat anymore without a ladder, little ladder. Anyway, up and down, up and down. I just checked to see how many steps I went today, and I guess I went 7,000 steps, almost 8,000 steps. And that must have been in the house, out of the house, in the garage, around the corner, 100 times. Well, let's see. The barometric pressure over here, I noticed it's going up. So I think they were talking about we might get a couple of good days. I have a guy doing my yard, but I'd like to have it fertilized once more before spring. I mentioned it to him, and I didn't get a definitive answer of when. He's fertilized it once this year, but I would like to have it fertilized again, so I bought a bag myself, and I may do that tomorrow. We'll see how that unfolds. But anyway, Dave pointed out, or Bob pointed out, I guess, Richard will probably tell us about it. Iceland had another eruption, so Richard's nodding up and down. So that's about it. Always good to hear what you guys have to say. So back to net, KD7QKU.
QKU. And talking about Iceland, let's go to Richard, K7ITX.
Yeah, okay. Well, yeah, no, you're right. I was kind of wondering, with all my busyness of late, I hadn't paid a lot of attention until, I guess it was yesterday. I thought, well, I'll look into it and hear all these predictions that it would erupt, and sure enough, about 6 hours later, it erupted. And it's a big one, too. This one, it seems like it's even bigger. I don't know, I haven't heard or could tell. It doesn't seem to be any threat to life and limb, and maybe infrastructure. They've pretty much got things under control with the earthen berms or earthen dams that they built over the last half year. So anyway, but gosh, now they've got these just fantastic camera views. We had one all day on our flat screen, and it's just beautiful. They've got it so crystal clear, and they pan around, and it's just it's phenomenally beautiful. And hopefully it just doesn't get any more than being beautiful. So I'm pretty happy about that. So, and then as far as the big events for us, we made a big move yesterday into a condo that we have signed a lease for 3 months, and it's not your average bear, to say the least. Let me just take a break for a second. So, it's been a long time since I've rented an apartment, or, that's kind of what this is kind of like. It's definitely better than an apartment. I think the construction is more commercial, and there's only 18 units in the whole complex. So, but, okay, so how many places can you rent for 3 to 6 months that comes with, a desk, a swivel chair, a sofa, artwork and paint? How about all the pots and pans you would ever want, dishes, all the glasses? How about 2 brand new beds and a king-size bed that it boggles the imagination, because I've had a king-size bed before, but usually it's 2 box springs, with a big mattress on top. No, this is one giant box spring, and talk about, it's firm as a piece of plywood. It is, and no, and not just that, all the linen, the beds are made with the tops, pillows, and pillowcases. Now, what about towels? Who ever heard of a rental unit coming with a complete set of bath towels? It just blows my mind. And now, I think 2 things in my favor are, it's going into summer, so, there's a lot of, renters are hard to come by down here when it's over 100 degrees all the time. And I think the other thing that this used to be one of these Airbnbs where people would just stay for 2 or 3 days, kind of like a hotel or something like that has all. But, I mean, all the cleaners and cleansers and, it was perfect for us because all we had was clothes and electronic stuff. And anyway, we were exhausted. We did it all. We made the move in one day. So we're sitting back dead tired today, but glad it's done. And now I'm just waiting for the call. K7ITX, back to net control.
ITX, thanks with that. Well, let's pick up Wade in Tacoma, W7ITL. Stand by for technical difficulties. This is the Western Washington Amateur Television Society net.
Signal out, but not modulating. But that did intermodulate with Dave. Wade, you try again.
But no voice transmission.
Second, I guess, maybe. Doubled. Canine PQ.
Contact with W7ITL. So let's try Jim, N7QO.
N7QO. Okay, thank you, Dave. Good evening, everyone. Wade, if you can hear me, we didn't get any modulation out of that for some reason, except maybe at the very end. Dave was saying something about checking your tone, but anyway, we see that I see you're putting a headset back on now. Try again next go around. Anyway, well, Ron, 7,000 steps. My goodness. I think I'd have to take a nap sometime during the middle of that if I were doing that. And Ron and Dick talking about Iceland. Yeah, I saw something on the television today, and they said that it was Iceland's largest eruption of this particular batch. They were saying the lava shot up 165 feet, and they had to evacuate the Blue Lagoon again. So it looks pretty serious. At any rate, the Earth is not settled over there. And let's see, new condo, 3-month rental. Yeah, that sounds like it's really good, Dick. You actually probably got there at a good time. I know when I was there, pretty much during the winter months, the population would just about triple. People would go there looking for apartments, looking for condos, looking for places to park their RVs, and for that matter, just parking along the road somewhere. People trying to avoid the winters in places where it's cold, and just traveling to the Phoenix area during winter. The natives there affectionately referred to the people as snowbirds. So when I was there, they took a liking to me because they knew that I was going to be there the whole year round. And I think you got a good time of year to go there. I'm sure that that has a lot to do with helping out your circumstances for housing. So good. And let's see, on the repeater, it's nice and stable. It's about my average picture. Bob, I could tell that what I'm looking at is something out of your, I don't remember if it's your trailer or something. I see a sort of a round, I think that's a window. I don't remember what that is, but I see it anyway. And I saw Wade just fine. And Dick, I saw everybody just fine, I think. Did I see Ron? I don't know. I think so. That's been too long ago. Oh, man. Anyway, back to you, Dave, and 7QO.
QO, we got to get a little ID going here again. This is the Western Washington Amateur Television Society net. On the 08 machine, I'm Dave, KD7ZYM. And again, this is the Western Washington Amateur Television Society net. Well, let's move down the list to James, WW7N.
Okay, with WW7N in Northeast Bellevue. How am I coming through? Am I coming? Okay, everybody's nodding, so you can hear me. Well, Ron, if it's difficult to get in and out of the boat on land, just imagine what it would be like to get in and out of the boat in the water. That would be more difficult. But I think it's great you still have it. You're still working with it. We all need something to get us moving every day. The Iceland, I saw one report where the lava was 120 feet getting shot up into the air. That is amazing. That is a lot of pressure to move molten rock 120 feet in the air. I wonder if someone's actually sat down and figured out how many PSI it takes to move that much rock 120 feet in the air. Wait, I'm just curious. Can you hear me on, you're nodding. Okay, so I think we were getting a carrier but no modulation, if that helps you any at all, because you definitely had some intermod there with KD7ZYM for a minute. So I think that you're definitely putting a signal out. It's just something to do with the audio feed into whatever you're pushing out the antenna. Well, let's see, today, not too exciting of a day here. I've been doing some paperwork and catching up on some things, and it's made me realize I need to do an overhaul of my internal house network here. I have 3 computers, but they really don't talk to each other, so it gets old moving thumb drives back and forth. So I'm going to have to work on that a little bit. Last time I did my state document review was 2019, so it's been 5 years, so it's time. I'm looking, haven't found anything major, but I did notice a couple addresses had changed of people, so have to fix that somehow. Hopefully it won't be, it's just maybe a matter of some addendums or something like that. Well, other than that, it actually rained here in Bellevue quite hard. We had a thunderstorm cell pass right overhead northeast Bellevue. Quite a bit of rain came down for, I don't know, about 10, 15 minutes. But I didn't measure how much, but it was enough to definitely hear it coming down. So, interesting weather for the end of May moving into June. I don't mind it at all. Everything's still nice and green, and don't have to worry about wildfire hazard, I don't think. Well, that's it here, WW7N in Northeast Bellevue with the Western Washington Amateur Television Society. Let's turn it back to our net control. Go ahead, Dave.
7N, thanks for that. This is Dave, KD7ZYM, and again, this is the Western Washington Amateur Television Society net. Well, I've got 52 degrees, overcast with a slight drizzle here in Lake City. And today was a chicken run at Costco. That was my excitement for the day, and it was really packed. Very unusual on a Wednesday, but it could be because the store was closed on Monday, so that people try to migrate later on in the week to get their goods. But the store was really packed and very difficult to find a parking spot even. It was that full. And that's about it. Sort of a boring day outside of the trip to Costco, but I did get some domestic chores done around the house. So with that, I'm going to send it back up to Ron, KD7QKU.
Hey, thanks, Dave. KD7QKU here. Well, I noticed on my phone, I looked at the weather, it was like 90 degrees in Scottsdale, and 53 over here, but I noticed it was raining in Bellevue. So I guess it was right. James verified that. So I don't know what happened to Wade. Like everyone says, we could tell he was talking, but we couldn't hear him, understand. Oh my. Gee, Merry Christmas. We went out to Mike's, I guess, on Monday. We had company here on, well, I guess Sunday afternoon. Merlin and Diane came over. Joanne's sister and brother-in-law came over, and Joanne made Mississippi pot roast. Oh man, it was good. If you haven't tried that recipe and you like pot roast, I suggest you try it. So it's really, really good. At least it is to me. And then Monday we went out to Mike's and he barbecued ribs. So we had barbecued ribs out there. Small group of people, but it was nice, I guess. Hour out, hour back. Got out there about 2 o'clock. He said he was going to eat at 2. We needed to take the cat in, get fluid. We take the cat in once a week, every Monday, to get fluid, and they told us that the technician would be there from 12 to 2. So we went over, and that's all they were doing, just about, is putting fluid in old cats. But our cat's doing better. It's subcutaneous. They put it under the skin, so she walks around with a big lump on her side or her belly hanging down, and then eventually it goes away. But she's doing pretty good, considering we thought we were almost going to have to put her to sleep, but she kind of came out of it. Okay, I guess that's enough over here. Anxious to hear if everything works good this time. So back to net, KD7. Oh, and Richard, I wonder if you can extend that condominium if you need to. 3 months, but if you should need to go longer, if you could, or would you have to move? All right, back to net, KD7QKU.
Well, let's go to Richard, K7ITX in Arizona.
Okay, well, yes, the ability to extend another 3 months after this current lease expires, yeah, I think it's going to take place. Now, it might be $500 more a month, or hopefully not much more than, or 200 or 300. I don't know. It is going to be higher no matter what. That's just, it's the winter rate, I guess. You know, like we were just heard people talking about. So, I was looking at the real estate website that we got this through, and so out of these 18 units, 10 of the units are owned by one investment company, and the place is for sale. I guess you can get all 10 units for about $1.5 million, and so, or maybe it might have been a little bit more than that. But I thought, gee whiz, that's not, what's that, 150,000 each. But even then, if it got sold, I have a feeling the new investment company is going to, want to keep the revenue flowing. So I suspect, it being already here, and as long as we don't have too many big giant parties, we should be in line for re-upping. And we would probably do it because we're only 10 to 15 minutes away from the hospital. We're not in Scottsdale. We are in the southern part of Phoenix. Probably a half a mile from In-N-Out Burger, and right across from In-N-Out Burger is LA Fitness, which the two go hand in hand quite nicely. In fact, I went to LA Fitness today and, kept my membership going just by showing up. It's part of the health insurance, so it's a pretty good deal. But I have to show up at least once a month, or I have a feeling it's going to get canceled on me. So anyway, I need to go. I'm glad I went, and hopefully I can make a better habit of it, but I should be able to. So anyway, that's all I know for now. K7ITS, back to net control.
7ITX. Well, let's try once more for Wade. W7ITL.
This is W7ATS. Looks like my scope is showing that my audio is working. So, it looks like the issue was my output for my mic was set to WLAN, which is for my laptop, so I can use it for digital notes. And I forgot to switch it back to Bluetooth. So, it looks like it's working. It's great. Not a lot going on today other than did go out to dinner with my family, and my daughter came with us, and we had a little Vietnamese food, and it was pretty good. I had pho, and I had spring roll. Besides that, then just tinkering with my IC705, just doing a lot of work for work. I'm going to be doing some training here in a couple of weeks, so I'm going to be pretty busy for about 6 days, so I probably won't be showing up for the week of the 12th or 17th or something like that. The 17th, I think, is the week that I'm going to be doing that training, so I won't be in that week. I do have a new part coming in for my 705. It's a new interface board. It's going to allow me to handle better external amplifiers, so I can not have to worry about frying my radio with amplifiers. So I'll be installing that in a couple weeks, depending on how long it takes to get here. It's a little custom board that goes inside the 705 that upgrades the USB to USB-C from micro USB, and it allows the radio to handle up to an amp of current and 12 volts for the key line for the amplifier. So I think right now it's about 100 or 200 milliwatts, so it's pretty easy to fry it. Besides that, not a lot. Sounds like Richard is all set up in his new place for the next 3 to 6 months in Arizona, and hopefully that works out for him. I don't know. That sounds like a great place to go. I've I've been debating on if maybe after the kids leave, if we're going to move out that way, and it's a lot more economical to live out that way, and it's a lot warmer. All right, well, I'll turn it back to Ned. This is Whiskey 7 India Tango Lima, Wade here in Tacoma.
ITX, thanks for that. And let's go to Jim, N7QO.
N7QO, thank you, Dave. Dave, thanks for mentioning busy day at Costco. Yeah, I need to make a trip to Costco. I'll bet it will be kind of busy for a couple days here. Probably people returning home from wherever they've gone and trying to stock up, or maybe people who need to replenish their stores after a weekend of partying or something. Around the holiday weekends, I think it's probably always a little bit busy. Let's see. Jim and Ron. Yeah, I had some rain here. It probably wasn't as heavy as it was in Bellevue, but I call it moderate rain, and it was maybe for all of about 15 minutes. We did have some additional rain later than that for on and off for, I don't know, hour and a half or so. And I have 52 degrees here right now. It was kind of windy most of the day, though. There was very little activity here at the airport over here. And I would guess it's probably between the wind and the lower clouds. Even when it wasn't raining, it didn't look really good out there. But I can't say I checked the weather. Ron, glad to hear that Lily is improving, and that's great news. Dick, wow, 10 units for sale. That sounds attractive. And you're closer to the hospital. That sounds really good too. And I hope they don't hit you too badly when you move there. When your lease is up for renewal there. What they did with me, I had to sign a 1-year lease at a time, so they gave me a really good rate. But I know you're not likely to be there that long, so sounds like this weekend nothing happened to help you out, so we'll just keep our fingers crossed. Back to you, Dave, and 7QO.
And 7QO, thanks for that. Let's go on down to James, WU7N.
WU7N. Dave, is Bob in the stack before me, or okay? Why don't we let Bob go? Okay.
It over to K9PQ.
Thanks, James. So let's see. Yeah, not a whole lot going on over here. I was going to talk a little bit more about my trip to the Hamvention. Unfortunately, I didn't take pictures. I just completely forgot. I did get some materials from different things. I told you about the CSI, the Clean Signal Initiative, and alpha antennas. I have here. Let's see. I was looking at this loop. They have a mag loop that the loop is, instead of being solid, is made out of coax, and so it's very portable. And I wouldn't say it's cheap. It's definitely not cheap, but it's less expensive than some of the other mag loops out there, and it's kind of got my attention. And Unfortunately, I can't put it up in the attic, I don't think. I don't think it's worth putting it up in the attic because I have iron pipe going right over the top of it for the sprinkler system that, was mandatory when they built this place. So I don't think a mag loop would work there, but for portable operations, for going out somewhere and just setting up and trying to do some HF, I think it'd be kind of fun. I've got a buddy pole. I never was crazy about the buddy pole antenna. It's just a little bit fiddly to try and get it to work, but it does have a very nice mast, and maybe something like this would fit on top of that nicely. I also have something that is more for me, Samlex America. Let's see, I'm getting it up there on the camera. I'll put it over on the, also on the, here on Zoom. And what that is they make inverters, really nice, high quality, expensive inverters. And at one time I was looking at upgrading the battery on my trailer and putting a nice inverter on it so I could run, my microwave and other sort of high output AC direct from the battery. And I mean alternating current. Air conditioning, technically I could, but I don't think the battery would last very long if I was trying to run air conditioning off of an inverter off the battery. But the inverter that's built in, do I have an inverter built in? No. So I only can do AC when I'm plugged into AC, otherwise I'm 12 volts DC. I have my portable unit, but its inverter just isn't powerful enough to do a microwave. And that's one of those conveniences I've become so used to that even when I'm camping, I really like to have a microwave. I mean, of course, I'm in a travel trailer. It's not exactly camping, but I like to be off-grid and out in a campground and still be able to use my microwave. So there you go, roughing it Bob style. I'll send it back, K9PQ.
And we'll get an ID here again. This is the Western Washington Amateur Television Society net on the 08 machine. Again, I'm Dave, KD7CYM. Well, let's go to James, WU7N.
WU7N here, Northeast Bellevue. Bob, you made me smile, and it does remind me of something in the 90s. Super smart lady, actually a cartographer, but at that time she was also working with databases for the company I worked for at the time. She and I were kicking around ideas, and she said, wow, to come up with like a microwave that you could plug into your car's cigarette lighter. This was the 90s, and I went, yeah, that would be a good idea, but the problem is, most microwaves, 1,000-watt microwave, you can just do the arithmetic, 120 volts, and figure out, how many amps that takes 120 volts. At 12 volts, it's going to take a lot of amps to get up there. But actually, a factor of 10, that actually works out, the difference between 12 and 120 volts. And yeah, I know there's a little difference there because of DC versus AC. But then we were thinking, wait a minute, what about if we could just make a magnetron tiny enough to fit into a large-sized coffee mug, just to do your coffee? And I actually, checked that out. I said, is there a magnetron small enough that you could, but it still didn't, the physics of it still didn't work. But, you made me smile there. You love your microwave out in the middle of nowhere. I think you're going to need a generator for that, or a connection to 120 volts of Mr. Pizza Sound Energy to make that work. Good news, there are cat lies left for Lily. I'm glad to hear that. I'm glad to hear she's doing better. That's nice. If she's walking around, then that's happiness for a cat, I think, at that age. Richard, I always enjoy listening to this net because I always learn something just completely out in left field. I had never considered this before. There's going to be winter versus summer rates for a place where everybody migrates to the winter. Yeah, that would be logical, wouldn't it? So you've got a good time there right now, but as soon as the fall hits, yeah, you're going to pay up, I would guess, quite a bit more because everybody comes down there then. I don't know if you can hear or not, but if you have a 705 with an amplifier, that's sort of like a 706 Mark IIG. Is that what you would kind of get? Does the amplifier put out about 100 watts? I don't know. Interested in your comment on that. I too will probably be making a Costco trip tomorrow. I'm just out of all sorts of things. One thing I've discovered is Dave's Killer Bread. The problem is it tastes so good and it keeps so well in the freezer and refrigerator, I just eat it all. But man, that stuff is good. They've definitely got a winner there. I've seen the price go up just in the time since I bought I think this is only my 4th loaf. So inflation is definitely catching up. Although I did read one economic analyst here that the reason why Target and a couple of other major retailers, Walmart, some others, are lowering their prices on staples is they went too far. They were anticipating supply chain difficulties and more inflation, and it didn't happen. So now they just look like the greedy corporate hogs that they are. So they're now lowering the prices, some staples by as much as 30%. So now's a good time to stock the larder up on some of that stuff. I was hoping that you and your camera crew that you would take to Dayton would come up with a complete video documentary. So I'm a little disappointed to hear you don't have pictures. I suppose, we can forgive that this time. Anyway, on the mag loop antenna, I read up on the physics of that a long time because I was going to put a big mag loop antenna up, and I have a big aluminum bar right down the center of the glass. It's a sliding glass door where I was going to mount this thing. And I was looking at the physics of that to try and figure out how I could incorporate the aluminum frame of the sliding glass door and the bar down the center, which is that. How could I incorporate that into the antenna and make that part of the ground or something, maybe put the coax on the outside? It might work as some sort of reflector. I got involved in other things, so I never pursued it, but I wouldn't let a stinking water pipe stop me just because it's got all kinds of water in it. I just drill a hole right in that puppy and, screw that pipe right in, screw that antenna right in. That's what I do at your house with your drill and your antenna, not at my house. Oh my goodness, nothing's impossible for the person that doesn't actually have to make it work. That was the saying at Boeing, probably AT&T too. Well, with that, let's see, I see it's 8:40, so I guess I will say hello from Northeast Bellevue and turn it back to our net control, KD7ZYM. Go ahead, Dave.
KU7M, thanks for that. And this is Dave, KD7ZYM in Lake City. Well, I only have a question. Going back to Richard, got such a good deal. I hope it did include air conditioning. Well, that's good. I thought maybe because you got such a good rate, it was not air conditioned. So that's good. So anyway, can't go bad if it's all inclusive and it's livable. And boy, it sounds like you got a sweetheart deal down there. So anyway, we wish you well as your stay goes on for the next 3 months. And I really don't have much else to do today. Like I said, I did some things around the house, some domestic chores. That was about it. So I sort of laid back, and I think the trip to Costco was more overwhelming to see all the people there. I did have my mask on, and I'm noticing fewer and fewer people are wearing masks at Costco. It's down to about now 1 in 25 has a mask on in Costco. But I'm still a chicken and keeping the mask on for that. Although when you do those samples, I'm always curious. I've got to take the mask off my face for a bite, but then stick it back on. So you're hoping that nothing creeped in during that period of time. So with that, let's go back up to Ron, KD7QKU.
Identify KD7QKU here. Well, I haven't wore a mask for I don't know how long. Had a bunch of them hanging on the turn indicator in the car in a pickup, but I think I threw them all away. So you don't see many people with masks on over here. It seems like I almost read again where they came to the conclusion that we're not very effective, but I don't know. I think the big deal now is going to be bird flu. They better hurry up and get a vaccine on that. I see where somebody, on my phone anyway, ate a bear and the whole family got sick, but I think it was because they didn't cook it enough or something. So that's too bad. There's a lot of game out there right now that I wouldn't want to eat. They all have diseases, seems like elk and deer. So if they get grizzly bears in the state, well, the sick deer or elk will probably kill the grizzly bears. So anyway, not a whole lot else to talk about over here. I told you we went out to Mike's for barbecue, and that was good. I guess I'm just going to turn it back, see what you guys have to say. It was interesting hearing Bob talk about the big ham fest, Dayton. So maybe he's got some more when it's his turn, whenever that might be. Back to net, KD7QKU.
KU, and the net acknowledges that I dismissed Bob somehow on my list. So we'll bring him back now. Bob, the mic is yours.
Thank you. Yes, I will tell a little more hamvention stories. But a couple things for James. The sprinkler, it's not the sprinklers in my ceiling, it's the sprinklers at the peak of the attic. So that's why I can't put this antenna in my attic, because the iron pipe would be above it, and there's no way around that. And it's got to get out by going up, or at least, I don't know, maybe it's possible, but I don't think it's likely. So that's that, and the microwave, yeah, it is doable, because this inverter connects directly to the battery, and a battery will source that kind of current. You just don't want to do it through a cigarette lighter outlet, but a battery, with direct connections and heavy-duty wire, it will handle it. So let's see, hamvention. Well, so there were 5 really big buildings, the kind of buildings you find at the state fair, where they have livestock and all that kind of stuff. And there were, all the big companies were there. I think I mentioned that ARRL had the biggest section. They used up probably the equivalent of about 10 to 15 booths. They were just covered a huge area. The next biggest was DX Engineering. They had a huge presence there, and they just sell everything. I remember years and years ago when I first saw DX Engineering, it didn't interest me all that much, but they're selling more things, and they're kind of a lot more like HRO these days. In fact, I did see HRO. They just had a small booth, and I wasn't interested. I can get from HRO anytime. They didn't seem to have any special deals, but it was nice to see the manufacturers there, and it was nice to see some things that I own or that I've been interested in. You guys know that I've got this hex beam. That's a portable hex beam. And at the time this was made, this was the only portable one around, and it was very compromised, because in a normal hex beam antenna, you have an upside-down umbrella structure, right? So you've got these curved-up supports, and the hex goes around it. You've got 6 supports coming out like umbrella stays. But for the portable one I have, it's not strong enough for that, because it has to fold up, and so it just lays flat, and it's got guys holding it out flat, and so the wire's not tensioned quite the same. Well, I saw a really cool portable one there, and I'm going to try and find the name. I don't remember the name, but it was they used some really space-age materials. He said it wasn't carbon fiber; it was something even sort of beyond carbon fiber, because they have to, they want it to be light enough, and they want it to come apart. So that way it still can bend up. You can still tension it, and get the whole hex antenna tensioned properly, but it's strong enough so that it won't collapse. And they did say, it's sort of cutting edge. So they did say they've had a few of them. They've never had any break while they're up. They handle wind just fine, but they had some break when people were bringing them down, and they sort of dropped them onto the ground or something, and so they broke apart at the joint. So they have different materials at the join that are slightly weaker than the two pieces, and so it was kind of, they said it was kind of lucky. It would have been smart to do it by design, but it's kind of lucky that, you know, just the one piece breaks off at the join, and you just have to replace that, and you're good to go again. So I thought that was really interesting. I like hex beams. I like the idea of a portable hex beam, and but it was very expensive. It was, if I remember right, it was $700 for the antenna. Plus, it was, of course, designed to only fit their mast, so it was another $700 for the mast. So with that, good talking with everybody. It's probably my last time around, we'll see, and I might even have more stories for next time. This is K9PQ, back to net.
PQ. Let's go back to Richard, K7ATS in Arizona.
I know. It seems like all the cool stuff, Bob, usually does cost an arm and a leg. I mean, I've seen just some outrageously neat stuff at the Puyallup event, but you know, these antennas like that, you know, they start out, you know, like 5 foot tall, but then they go up. You crank and crank, and next thing you know, you're up 30 feet in the air. Sheesh. But again, yeah, they're a couple thousand, 2,500 or something like that. So, yeah. So, and then Ron, well, I don't know. As far as masks goes, I don't know if the doctors and nurses would agree with you on them not being any good. I don't think they wear them just for fun. And in fact, they really urge post-transplant patients to wear them in public. So I even wore one. Just, you know, it seemed like the thing to do. I wore one. I kept forgetting to, but I finally wore one for my left and right heart cateterization. But I almost think that was a mistake, primarily because I thought I knew what I was getting into. And when I had it at the UW, I remember really being, well, first of all, I think they only did the right, so I don't know if that is. But I remember not really feeling anything. I was kind of aware something was going on, but I didn't feel anything. Where this time, I felt everything. Where they start out little tiny little poke with a real thin little needle, but little did I know I would feel when they enlarge that hole for the needle to the size of maybe a pen or a pencil. I mean, and they go in really deep with that. So that's so they can get all their gear up your... Anyway, the problem with wearing a mask under those circumstances is I couldn't, you know, normally I would grimace. I'd make a face like... I couldn't, I mean, it didn't do any good because I was wearing a mask. All I could do is just kind of go, and they'd say, oh, sorry, Mr. Rolls. But I kept thinking, why am I wearing a mask? This is crazy. They can't see. They need to see my face. You know, so I don't know. But I think the doctors and nurses, they're pretty religious about these masks, and I have to think, well, I'll tell you one thing, I don't want them inside my body operating, or I don't even want them around me after I have surgery without a mask on. It's very scary business, so. So anyway, that's my food for thought on that, but darn it anyway, foiled again. I wanted more drugs, and I didn't get away with it. K7ITX, back to net control.
WW7ATS and get an ID here again. This is the Western Washington Amateur Television Society net on the 08 machine. I'm Dave, KD7CYM. Well, let's pick up Wade, W7ITL in Tacoma.
Alright, well, this is W7ITL. Maybe somebody could put me on RF. I'm going to see... Oh, it's going to make a few comments. Bob, I don't know if anybody from the amateur TV, I heard there was a couple of booths from Jim's newsletter that showed up for the convention, so it'd be interesting to see if you were able to talk to any of those guys. Yeah, not a lot more to talk about. A lot of good conversation tonight. Yeah, I think we'll just say 73 for tonight. Thanks for letting me check in again, and we'll see you guys around later. W7ITL, back to net.
W7ITL, thanks for that. Well, let's go to Jim, N7QO.
N7QO, thank you, Dave. Well, Bob, yeah, thanks for mentioning some of that. Alpha antennas. I've seen those things advertised. I don't know, I've always been a little apprehensive about those loops for transmitting. Having said that, I did hear someone somewhere on the bands, I don't remember where he was, but it seems like he was somewhere in the central part of the country, and I heard him surprisingly well. I don't remember for sure. It may have been 20 meters, but for basically just a little loop, I was surprised at that. I think receive loops are maybe a different thing. I would think that you could at least lower the noise floor quite a bit with a receive loop, so that may be useful. I've been debating about building one of those myself. Let's see. Oh, and Bob, I wonder if you could maybe attach a mast to your balcony railing or something. I didn't know that you had a hex beam. I thought you had something else. Was it an isotron, or maybe it was a Bill L? I think it was an isotron. But anyway, maybe there's a way that you could attach a simple mast to the railing. For those that require a special mast, maybe you could jury rig something to interface it to a normal mast. I think it would certainly be worth looking into anyway. And let's see. Oh, Dave's Killer Bread. Okay, so everyone was talking up Dave's Killer Bread before, and so I had to go and buy some. I bought a loaf of, they call it white bread done right, but I don't know. It doesn't taste like any white bread that I've had before. It has some sort of extra grains in it, and it just has maybe an odd flavor. It's good, but it's not white bread. So I don't know. I get it mainly for toasting, and I think the white bread that I've been getting actually tastes better with my coffee in the morning, and it's a whole lot cheaper. But maybe I'll try a different flavor or two. They certainly had a lot of choices, maybe like 5 or 6 different choices. So anyway, so much for that. And back to you, Dave, and 7QO.
WW7QO, let's go to James, WU7N.
Only 2 minutes left. Jim, you're not going to leave us hanging. What's the brand of the white bread that you buy?
I don't remember off the top of my head. I'd recognize the package if I saw it, but it's called Artisano. I don't want to say, I think it may be Sara Lee, but I'm not sure about that, but it says Artisano.
Okay. Well, yeah, that's probably how I am with the bread I was buying at Costco. Pre-COVID and throughout much of COVID, there was, not Costco, rather Trader Joe's had a bread. It's, I think, a less expensive bread they sell, and it was always very good. And then, even though the dates they deliver, I'm sure, are every day, I think they're baking like maybe once a week, because I can't really peg it like you have to buy it on Tuesday or something, but it starts tasting like day-old bakery bread sometimes, and it's just not very good. Whereas sometimes you just luck out, and I guess that's when they just took the batch out of the oven, and it's still quite good again. But they somehow, I think some MBA with a minor in industrial engineering took over the bread company there, because that's why I switched. I started trying other breads. A lady down the street, she's quite a bread connoisseur. She says she can't buy any bread anymore that's wrapped in a plastic bag that she can even eat. She makes her own. So I guess that's one solution. Well, it looks like we got less than a minute left, so I'll turn it back to our net control, Dave Mann, KD7ZYM. Go ahead, Dave, wrap it up.
WW7ATS, thanks for that. And it's time to terminate the net. This is the Western Washington Amateur Television Society net on the 08 machine. We'd like to thank the CTAC Repeater Association for letting us use WW7STR's repeater 147.08 with a specific tone of 103.5 for Cougar Mountain for our nets held on Saturdays and Wednesdays between 8 and 9 o'clock. So on behalf of the Western Washington Amateur Television Society, this is Dave, KD7ZYM, terminating the net at 9 o'clock. Good evening all.